through your freedom.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. Oh, boy. I don't think I got any sleep last night. I'm dying here. But tell you what, I'm going to be wide awake as we discuss these things. We got some big shit. You've been to like amusement parks. You've been to probably rest stops on a family trip. And you look at the map and there's a thing that says, you are here. You're here. Well, SHTF, we've got an SHTF map out in front of us, folks. It's a big freaking map, and you are right in the middle of it right now. You're here, and we're going to talk about it. Hey, this is the monologue and the Q&A. Tomorrow is going to be an all-recorded, free-for-all Friday. It's going to be a heck of a day also, but today, this is your chance. If you're on Patreon, you paid $2 a month. That means you get to come here Monday through Friday, live, hang out, and get to ask questions, comments, statements. You got a person, a topic, who, where, when, how, what, and key bono. You got one of those questions, get them into Jolene, and we'll cover it in the second half of the hour. We've got a lot to discuss. So let's get right into it, huh? Shall we? Literally, shall we? This is gonna blow you away. This is gonna blow you away. In Oklahoma, folks, the legislature there has already done it. They voted to ban abortions. Not a little bit, not a couple weeks or any, just period, done, no more. They voted for that, and then they will fine and imprison doctors who dare to perform the procedure in the state of Oklahoma. And the governor said he will sign that into law. Now, socialists and Democrats and wackos everywhere are going to lose their freaking minds, folks, whether you like the topic or not, whether you care or not, whether it matters to you, whether you're for it or against it. People are going to lose their freaking minds, probably starting tonight when they get home and they get all kinds of emails and Facebook notifications and everything else. Unbelievable that they're doing this. They're taking kind of a page, folks, from Texas. That's right, folks, those crazy Texicans down there, they passed their heartbeat law saying, well, after 6 weeks, it ain't happening because that's now a living human being. Just happens to be on the inside of a mommy instead of on the outside of a mommy. So, fascinating stuff here. Don't you think? And it seemed to me that it was Planned Parenthood type people in Texas who were most upset about it. I figure they're going to probably come storming down out of Illinois and flying in from Colorado and Texas. I'm sorry, in California. It's going to get ugly, folks. It's going to get stupid. You want to know where you're at in SHTF when it comes to domestic social issues or legal issues? How? You're right here. You don't think this isn't going to have an impact on people's minds? Look out. Now, you think that's good. You think that's cute. You think that's amazing. Wait till I tell you the next thing, right? The next thing. What is the next thing? Here it comes. Let's see. If Oklahoma can take what Texas does and make it even more theirs, well, I think Kaz would be happy that Ohio, those lawmakers there are looking to introduce a Florida-style parental rights bill. So this is spreading, folks, this notion of taking back your city. No. Let's start even smaller. Taking back your own frickin' household. Then taking back the school board. Then taking back the city. Then taking back the state. And then maybe a nation. But don't worry, folks. SHTF, we're right in the middle of it. You have got your feet firmly planted in the swampy goo of SHTF. Shit, it's a mess. You ain't getting out of it. You're not going to be able to swim out of it. You won't be able to jump out of it. You certainly won't be able to fly out of it. We're going to have to wade through this. waist deep, chest deep, neck deep. It's going to get ugly, but it's spreading, folks. Now, in Ohio, right, they're introducing a Florida style bill. So they're kind of copying the parental rights bill that was passed and signed into law down in Florida. That's the one where all of the heterophobes, because that's what I call them. They call us homophobes. I call them heterophobes. I call them normative phobes. Right? They're straight phobes. They were calling it the Don't Say Gay bill, even though the word gay never, ever, ever showed up anywhere in the Florida legislation. It said you can't teach kindergartners through third grades and talk about transgenderism or cutting your testicles off or any of that stuff, right? Keep sex out of the classroom. Maybe they ought to teach, let's see, reading and writing, arithmetic. Yeah. Maybe how to balance a checkbook. That might be a good one to learn. Anyways, Ohio, it's spreading, folks. Now, it is my opinion that the left's greatest fear, the radical street level leftists, their greatest fear has been our awareness of their agenda. And that agenda is to destroy America and take us with it. So their fear is we would catch them and understand it. And then America wake up, and then the people doing something about it. You are here. That's what's happening, folks. In order for Texas or Florida to pass that legislation, in order for Oklahoma and Ohio to take similar steps, it's not just a bunch of grassroots, radical, right-wing Christian conservative types. It's the whole freaking state is awake and going, we've had it with this woke shit. Now, I wish it could be faster because I could just sit down in 20 minutes, write out an entire sheet full of shit that we need to stop and just take off the books. Right? It could be called the Save America by John Act. And it would be anything that any Democrat has ever passed just gets erased from the law books right then. Pow, done. Right? Because you know everything they pass is absolute bunk and garbage. And if they want to see what's in the legislation, we have to pass the legislation, right? In order to read it, you have to pass the John legislation. Anyways, I know that's pie in the sky, but that whole you're going to pass it before you get to read it shit. Remember when Nancy Pants Pelosi did that under the Barack administration, having to do with Obamacare? 1/7 of the nation's GDP, the economy, 1/7 of the nation's economy, they changed fundamentally, and we weren't allowed to see it until they passed it. That should have been clue number one, and the only one needed to not pass it and say, well, now that we've not passed it, are you going to let us see it? You bunch of freaking snakes in the grass. That's an example of why John's Save America Act, just to get rid of everything any Democrat has ever passed for the last, 150 years. I think that would be appropriate, don't you? Anyways, it's good to see that other states are joining. Now, there's states like California, there's states like New York, there's states like Washington and Oregon, there's states like Michigan and Illinois who won't have the legislature or the governor to do such things. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at an America that is a red America and a blue America, a free America and a freaking idiot America. I would rather be free than a freaking idiot, right? And it's good to hear that places like Texas and Florida are increasing voter registration on Republicans. I mean, Florida, I didn't realize was a toss-up. Now they're claiming they have 100,000 more registered Republicans. And I'm sure the Democrat side contains a lot of people who have died and like to vote 3 or 4 times. Be that as it may, it is an enormous swing. It's an exodus from crappy states by people who want freedom. And it's spreading, and the liberals don't like it. And here we are. Here we are. The fight is on, folks. That's where we're at. We're right in the middle. You got your screen here. We're right in the middle. Ouch. So that's some good domestic news. It's good. right? I don't think we should lay down and let these fruitcakes stomp all over us, the bunch of heterophobes that they are, the bunch of normative phobes, the Ameriphobes, maybe we should call them that, Constitution phobes. They're afraid of law and order, justiphobes, they don't like justice. I could go all day, folks. I'm so funny. But what we have in the White House is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, let's do this. Let's just go right into how stupid they are and what we're up against. The United States government, that would be Biden and his administration and his State Department, they have warned India that it faces, quote, significant long-term costs if it aligns with Russia. So instead of telling India the US government would like to work with it, they threaten it. More of the same schoolyard bully crap. After a while, folks, if you recall when you were a kid, right? Us kids, we figured out the bully is not only a coward, but also the dumbest in the class and not really all that strong. They're just really mean and they intimidate people. India, folks, has, I think, 1.2 billion people. The United States has 25% of India's population. Look at the maps. We're a little bigger as a country and they got 4 times the population. What's that tell you? It's a lot of freaking people. I'm not saying they're going to go to war with us. What I'm saying is they've got a lot of people to worry about. They don't need to be playing games. They're an emerging market economy. Like, they're not third world, even though they have third world problems. But, you know, the United States isn't third world either. But have you seen the tent cities within the major metropolis? The Democrat cities have homeless tent cities. If that ain't third world, I don't know what the hell is, right? Big parts of the United States of America are starting to look like third world shitholes. When I left extreme Northern California to head out, right, I drove through a number of cities and I was disgusted on the West Coast with what I saw. Absolutely disgusted. Yeah. Anyways, India, the president, the Biden administration, let's not work with India. In fact, if you remember, their leader, President Prime Minister Modi, he hosted President Trump and Melania Trump. He hosted them and they filled, I think, a giant soccer stadium and did speeches, and they were friends, and America and India worked together and everything was freaking hunky-dory. Where are we at today? India. They don't even go, Biden doesn't even go to India. He just yells at them. Do as we say, or it's going to have significant long-term costs. Well, let's see. Russia has oil. Russia has gas. Russia has coal. Russia has uranium. And yes, folks, India is a nuclear superpower. They have both nuclear weapons and nuclear power plants. Same with Pakistan. For all of you in the Pakistan world, yeah, they're nuclear, folks, India. So they can use enriched Russian uranium products from Rosatom and uranium from Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. That would be Kazakhstan, actually. Yeah, they've got that, folks. They've got it. Isn't that fascinating? So, yeah, I think India has a lot to gain. But rather than try and get 1/4 of the world's population on our side, the frickin' idiot in chief is just going to piss them off and insult them from afar. It's almost like they're doing it on purpose. Well, it sure feels like that, because in another fit of stupidity and outrage, President Joe Biden basically is pushed for more World War III, because he came off the transcript, you know, the written remarks, and he was speaking to a union today. He said, if I got to go to war, I'm going with you guys, and I mean it. Really? right? Biden, folks, during the earlier parts of the speech, basically quietly threatening Amazon, which is weird. But he's pretending to be pro-labor and pro-union, because Joe Biden really gives a shit as he allows corporations to leave America and go to India and China, and Pakistan and Sri Lanka and Indonesia, Taiwan, and other nations for cheap human labor. He talks shit to the unions who represent human labor and pretends like he's their friend to get their votes. So after quietly threatening Amazon, he pushed World War III in his speech. Here's what he said, quote, "This war could continue for a long time, but the United States will continue to stand with Ukraine, the Ukrainian people, and their fight for freedom." Quote, "And by the way, if I got to go to war, I'm going with you guys. I mean it." Biden has done nothing but gaffe and choke and flubub, and with all his dementia outbursts, folks. All he's doing is antagonizing Russia, but I think that's what he wants to do. Insult our former allies, insult former trade partners. Yeah, Russia was a preferred trade partner with the U.S. They had good trading status. Well, hell, look at all the energy they have. And not just coal and uranium and gas and oil. They've got nickel, they've got cobalt, they've got massive amounts of metals that we need, folks. We need platinum and palladium. Platinum and palladium, you bet. Someone always got to call me when I'm busy with you guys, huh? The phone. You might think it rings off the hook. Well, maybe it does. Anyways, let's continue with dumbass, right? Biden has decided he's going to nominate someone else to head the ATF and E. Remember, that's the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. I guess they didn't have enough rockin' and raring good stuff. Anyways, Biden, folks, last year tried appointing a head to the ATF that was an absolute abject, miserable failure. So he's trying it again, allegedly taking another crack at nominating an anti-gun idiot to lead the Bureau. That's right, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Now, I can get alcohol, I can get tobacco and firearms, but where do I sign up for explosives? I mean, really. So after the failed attempt last year, the guy he was shot down, right? This guy, his name, if you remember, his name was Dave Chipman. He was a radical anti-gun jackass. Anyways, Politico is saying that two people familiar with the Biden administration are discussing a serious consideration for Steve Doodlebach. He is a former federal attorney for the Northern District of Ohio, and they want him to be the new ATF head. And this guy is every bit as much an anti-gun, wacko, leftist lawyer. I mean, how many strikes does this guy need against him before he is shown the southern border of the country and tossed over it onto his egghead? I am sick of these eggheads, folks. I'm sick, absolutely sick of these anti-American fucksticks. They act like, well, we're going to pass a law and that makes it okay, so we don't need to have any violence, right? We're a nation of laws, and we're going to be peaceful about screwing you over and stealing your Constitution and taking your property and ruining your life, right? But if you don't listen to them, they'll send in the ATF, they'll send in the FBI, they'll send in the DHS in, massive SWAT teams with guns to get people, like dangerous people like Roger Stone. Whether you like him or not, the old crackpot, right? You didn't need an ATF style FBI raid at 5 a.m. With CNN in tow. That's the type of thinking these people have, folks. It's attack your rights and ad hominem media attacks. That's the world we live in, folks. You are right here in the middle of it. Are you not? Right? And it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. You know, we've covered a lot of domestic stuff, right? You bet I have. Let's do this. Let's take a little gander. Remember that thing called Ukraine? No, I'm not going to talk about President Zelensky, who's a Nazi and who has a Nazi brigade there. We're not going to talk about that. Just remember, anyone who wants to help Ukraine has to support Nazis to get it done. I just can't get there. Can't do it. Anyways, Poland, folks, has decided that it is going to host United States government nuclear weapons. No. If Poland hosts them. That's right. We're not quite there yet, but they're talking about it. So Russia steps up and says, hey, if you do that, we're going to put nukes along the western border, of Ukraine, Belarus. You know, if they take that step, folks, right? They continue to antagonize, they continue to threaten. Does this sound like they want peace? Does this sound like they want war? Does this sound like they're trying to fix the country, or does this sound like they're trying to tear it apart? Now, Poland's deputy prime minister, Jarosław Kaczynski. They got some tough names over there, folks. I just kept trying to think, and I'm like, my brains are cooked. I can't say a Polish name. Jarosław Kaczynski reportedly had a conversation with Germany's Welt am Sonntag newspaper. That's right, folks. I'm digging into European newspapers. And this is what he said. This is what the Polish dude said. If the Americans asked us to store American nuclear weapons in Poland, we would be open to it. Now, I hate the fact that he said Americans, because the United States government is not America. The U.S. government is headquartered in Washington, D.C. You and I are Americans. Americans don't ask anyone to hold our nuclear weapons because we don't have any nuclear weapons. Remember when Joe said if we wanted to have an insurrection, it would take nuclear weapons, and he's got them? Right. We don't have nuclear weapons. Be that as it may, you know, a little faux pas, a little ignorance on their part, making it sound like the American people support the notion. No, we don't. In fact, the more I read, folks, the more people are like, you know what, this Ukraine thing, it's horseshit. Anyways, let's move on. If Americans asked us to store American nuclear weapons in Poland, we would be open to it. So, if the U.S. were to ask us to host nuclear weapons in Poland, we would be open to this option. Such a step would enhance a deterrence against Moscow. Well, folks, Moscow had something to say. Right? They said it would constitute a serious threat to Russia's security. You bet. Right? Putting nuclear weapons so close to Russia's border, yeah, that might piss them off. So Peskov sounds like he's pissed off, right? And he ensured it would be inevitable for Russia to respond in kind by sending its nuclear arms to its western borders. That would, without a doubt, trigger a new Cold War nuclear arms standoff akin to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Now, as an American down in the South, if they want to lob nukes at each other in Poland and Russia, it's probably not going to hurt me as much as it's going to hurt them. That would be stupid, but that would be cute, I guess, for someone in Washington, D.C., one of those power-hungry idiots, right? Because there's no skin off their nose directly. It is, it's incredible, folks, the risks that these people are taking just with words. At the very least, we've got a Cold War. Right? We've got a nuclear arms standoff once again, already. And the more threats that happen, right, the more threats will happen. Tit for tat. Right? Now, Furthermore, forward positioning creates a use them or lose them pressure that makes it more likely that a nuclear threshold will be crossed early in the war. A nuclear war watchdog warned. You bet. Of course it does. Right? That's why the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962, was it 63, was such a big freaking deal. When Russia, or I'm sorry, the Soviet Union, which was communist, the communists decided they wanted to park a few nuclear weapons in Cuba. And Cuba, I think, to Florida is like 100 miles away, 80 miles away, 20 miles. I don't know what it is. It's pretty freaking close to the closest part. But, those missiles are really close. You can cook Miami. You can cook Pensacola, Houston. You can hit some big cities really quick. And this was way back then, folks. Way back in the early 60s. And President Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev had some words together and basically said, you get those frickin' nukes out of here or we're going to launch on you. Came basically down to that. So when you start bringing nuclear superpowers into proximity with each other, proximity is what creates the tension. It's kind of like India and Pakistan. Those are two nuclear weapons having superpowers. I really do say once you have a nuclear weapon, you're a superpower. It's just, it's like Superman battling Green Lantern, right? Everyone knows Superman would kick his ass, but Green Lantern's still a superhero. Okay. It's just that way, folks. Why are we continuing to push this? It's because they're idiots. And I mean idiots, folks. For the stupid people in the room up in Washington, D.C., just in case they don't get it, China had a summit with the European Union. They had a summit, a get-together, a meeting, and it was referred to as deaf dialogue on Ukraine. In other words, China don't want to hear it. China doesn't give a shit about it. Nothing the European Union said to China matters. For the stupid people in the room up in DC, China has sided with Russia, and that is not going to change. What you going to do about it, Joe, Boris Johnson, BJ? What you going to do about it? What's that? The European Union leader's name? I think it's Ursula. Sorry, Ursula. I don't think Xi Jinping gives a rat's ass about how you look or how much your hair looks like Margaret Thatcher's. I don't think he gives a shit. This is a bigger game than the little pissant games that they're playing. It's a much bigger game, folks. But I want to finish up my monologue and get your questions in. Get them in now, pretty please. Right? But get this. On the big level, we can't affect anything. And the people on the big level in America and Europe, they're idiots. And they don't realize they're playing with fire when they're playing with Putin and they're playing with China at this step. They're screwing with India, and that's not a pretty thing, folks. But there's something we can do on a small level. And the local elections that are occurring right now signal a red Republican tsunami for the November elections. Now, most of the media is ignoring this, folks, like the mayoral election in Norman, Oklahoma on Tuesday. And it spells big, big, smelly bad news for Democrats in this fall, this coming off-year election, meaning it's not a presidential election, but there's still Congress, there's still senators, there's still going to be governors here and there. But look what Oklahoma just did. Oklahoma, folks, just passed a no more abortions law. Passed it, and the governor is going to sign it. Now, they've had an election in Norman, Oklahoma, folks, and a white male Trump supporter, I'm going to guess he's a Christian heterosexual, too. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not a betting man. I don't toss money around carelessly, but I bet not only is he a white male Trump supporter, but he's probably a Christian hetero as well. Anyways, he ousted a woke Democrat white female who tried to defund the Norman City Police Department. The people of Norman, Oklahoma said, we're sick of this shit. The wokeness, the critical race theory. I'm sure the Rainbow Coalition and their agenda, I'm sure it's just pissed the people off. This is a very small, local look, a microcosmic look at American and their reactions. So the conclusion, folks, that I have is local elections are showing a big, big rejection of Democrats and wokeness and anti-Americanism and the destruction of our cultures, our traditions, what makes us good as Americans, regardless of gender or race, right? American. I can't tell you, I keep meeting people of all different races. It's amazing that are Americans and they're sick of this shit. It's crazy, folks. Okay, so this push on the small level, on the micro level, it means that the anti-freedom voting machine of the Democrats, the socialists, it's going to be working 500% capacity come November. Get ready for it. This summer, they're going to sick BLM and Antifa on the world. This summer, they're going to visit us with false flags. This summer, we're going to have cyber attacks. We're going to have power grid issues. We're going to have massive fuel problems. We're going to have shut down ports. We're going to have unions on strike. They're going to do everything they can to punish you, America. What are you going to do about it? Well, number one, I think you should vote. No, that's number two. Number one, I think you should be prepared. That's right. Right down here. There you go. thepreparedmind.club. Go there and buy your long-term food. Buy your water products. Buy your body armor. Get ammunition. Buy emergency radios. Buy solar panels and batteries. Buy radio communications gear. Buy everything you need to be prepared for what these idiots are going to do. Because they know they're losing the little elections. And they know it's going to compound and get bigger. They're going to lose big elections too, folks. Now, there are Democrat strongholds, no doubt. There are cities that if every Republican voted and half the Democrats didn't, the Democrats would still somehow magically win. We know that. We anticipate that. But there are going to be a lot of House seats. In fact, another Rhino Republican just yesterday decided to drop out and not run again. Well, this clown was another one who voted to impeach Trump. People are getting rid of the rhinos. They're tossing the Democrats, and they're demanding our Constitution. They're saying the sanctity of life matters. Our children's education in school matters. Oh, I'm telling you, domestic SHTF, it's going to be just as ugly to us as that war in Ukraine is to the Ukrainians. Because, Americans seem to give a shit about it when it affects their wallet, their children, and their lives. It is incredible. I've got more to talk about, folks. I got a lot more, in fact. But we've gone past the 30-minute mark, and it is your turn. Your turn to hit me with questions. Hit me with tell a lie, tell a truth. Stump the John, one of my favorite. It is now, it's my favorite. It's my favorite part of the show when people do that. I used to put in hidden phrases and keywords. That was years ago. I used to put in little special messages at the end and say, if you stay to the end, right, there's going to be a message. We used to do all kinds of fun stuff. And I'm trying to remember to do these things and bring them back, like the Board of Truth. I love the Board of Truth. It takes a ton of time to put one of those together, but I love them. But hey, right now we're managing to remember to play Stump the John. So let's do this. Let's get to the Q&A and then see what you guys want to chit-chat about.
Are you ready?
All right, I'm back. I was just thinking about those secret phrases I used to put in special quotes at the end, or I'd come back on after the end of the show and and just start chit-chatting with you guys. Most people just leave. They're like, he's done. Oh, he's back. Anyways, here we are. We're all back. What do you want to discuss? Jolene. And again, thank you, Jolene, for all you do. She's like a silent partner, folks. She does so much, and she just knows what to do. She's been with you for years and years and years, and many of you probably don't even realize she's there. She's so quiet. Does a great job, but don't mess with her. She'll mess your ass up. All right, we got Eli in the Wolverine State. He says, how many weapons did the U.S. give Ukraine to kill its own people in 2015, 2016, and even Trump helped Zelensky? Let's see. I'm going to count the weapons. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4,000, 5,000. I don't know how many weapons. But the point is made, and it is a terrific point. Thank you, Eli in the Wolverine State. In 2014, you can leave that up there if you would, Jolene, just in case I need to refer to the question to prompt some more opinion, because that's what I offer here, folks. I offer satirical opinion and no more. You have to come to your own conclusions. But yeah, in 2014, Zelensky, at the behest of a Ukraine oligarch, billionaire, corporatist, globalist scumbag, was helped by the Central Intelligence Agency, right, in their Maidan Revolution, I think it was called. Anyways, it was a coup d'etat. They took over the government, literally. They didn't wave flags and protest an election. No, they were there to take over the government. They did. So how many weapons did the U.S. give these radicals to take over? And how many of these were neo-Nazis that were given weapons to take over their government? Yeah, Putin knows, folks. Yeah, how many weapons did our government, through Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro Obama, and Eric Holder, the Attorney General for the United States. Remember Fast and Furious? They gave guns to Mexican drug cartels who then turned around and used them to kill Americans as well as Mexicans. Yeah, and that same government, that same Barack Obama administration, they gave guns and assistance, military intelligence. How many people in Ukraine died? How many atrocities? How many murders? How many rapes? Oh yeah, folks, they're crying about all the raping that's going on over there, and I'm sure, right, we're supposed to believe it's all Russia, because Russia. We've heard that since 2016. But yeah, even Trump helped Zelensky. Yeah, it's a dirty world, folks. It's a dirty, dirty world. What did Trump know, and when did he know it? When did Trump figure out, if he ever did, that Zelensky was a freaking Nazi? When did he discover that there were Nazi brigades in Ukraine? When did he discover that atrocities were being committed by the Ukrainian military against non-Ukrainian ethnics? There's Lithuanians, Estonians, Belarusians, Russians inside Ukraine, and they know who they are, folks. As surely as you in New York City can spot the Texan or hear the Texan's voice, as surely as someone in Georgia can tell if someone's from Minnesota, right? We all kind of look the same here in America, with a few rough exceptions, but we certainly don't sound the same, do we? In a lot of cases, we don't dress the same. Interesting stuff, huh? In fact, yeah, you could pretty much pick out a socialist soy boy these days. Not to make fun of people who wear skinny jeans that only go halfway between their calf and their ankle, but you pretty much pick out the soy boys, folks. They'll have some sort of cute little trimmed up beard, half their fucking head shaved, 2 or 3 earrings in their freaking nostrils. Not that that's bad, but, it makes it easy to spot them. Okay, let us move on here. Thank you very much, Eli. And we got Uman. He says, the bizarro world-atards, world Q-tards are saying they dusted off Obama to take Camel Toe's place when she steps down for some mysterious reason. Then they 25th Amendment Uncle Potato Head Joe Biden and Obama gets his third term. Sounds more likely than Trump getting back in through the Speaker of the House position. I tell you what, man, I remember Uman sent this to me earlier today, and I read it, and I had a good laugh. I was like, well, Joe has been failing. Joe is the physical embodiment of Ross Perot's great sucking sound. If you remember Ross Perot's political campaign and run for office, he said there would be a great sucking sound. Right? If Bill Clinton was elected, when all the American corporations sent their businesses, their money, and their labor, all that wealth went overseas. Well, Biden is that great sucking sound, killing our domestic energy, leaving our border open, pissing off the world, and farting on the world, to be frank. Yeah. So, yeah, Trump getting back into the White House via the Speaker of the House position by running for Congress, that's pretty funny stuff, right? But what if it was? Biden sucks so bad, they just need to get rid of that old smelly dude and, somehow slip Barack back in. After all, Barack was the second most popularly elected president of all time. The only one who has ever been more popular and cool is Joe Biden. Yet while Barack was at the White House, nobody paid any attention to Joe. They let him wander around the room like a doddering old fool while everyone else just partied on. And they're like, that's Uncle Joe. He says some crazy stuff. Don't worry about him. Wait a minute, that's supposed to be the president. So yeah, let's bring Barack back in and Trump in the House as the speaker. Sometimes you just can't write it any better than the shit that actually happens. So yeah, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that, dude. What a mess. What an absolute mess we have on our hands. It used to be a country. We used to have law and order. Of course, there's always been assholes in government, but we had a country and we had law and order and we had a constitution. And all it would take is a good lawyer to scare the living shit out of any bureaucrat or law enforcement officer who is way outside his bounds and authority. Now they just run amok. Kind of like Merrick Garland using the FBI and calling parents domestic terrorists. That should be an impeachable offense right there for showing a lack of fidelity with the American people who are the sovereigns of this nation. To turn around and call a significant percentage of tax-paying sovereigns terrorists, the man should at the very least be run out of town after being tarred and feathered and hope that nothing worse happens, right? You want to be an outlaw? You want to hate America? Fine, hate America. All right, let's move on if we can. Who do we have next up? There we got Robert Wilson with a question to me. How about that? I get to have a question. He said, let's quit screwing around and take it back now. When will do it? When will we do it? I think we're getting closer in the process, Robert. I would love for it to be right now, right? Johnny, get your gun. I would love for it to be right now. Just get it over with. Look, it's going to take, 6 to 12 months to get up there and take care of some business, right? And I'm talking about protesting, folks. I'm only talking about protesting, not encouraging violence or harmful to us or dangerousness or nothing else. I'm talking about protesting so loudly and effectively that the Democrats just leave Washington, D.C. The legislators, the executives, the military scum, the bureaucrats, the bad judges, all of the Democrats just leave the city to us God-fearing, Constitution-loving, freedom-loving, libertarian-minded American people who love the world and help the world, but shit, we got to help ourselves first. I would love for it to be right now, Robert, but the world isn't ready for it just yet. I would love to protest at the top of my lungs in the places that matter. Were many of us ready? A lot of people I talk to, they're like, when? It's like, it's coming. If you can't feel it now, right? You're just numb from wanting it for so long. Now, a lot of people are like, you don't want that. And you're right. I don't really want it. I don't want that protest, because a lot of people are going to get hurt in that protest. I don't want that, because there's going to be a lot of suffering in that protest. That protest to take back our country is going to be excruciatingly difficult. People are going to find out that people they trusted before are not true Americans. People are going to find out that the bad guys are going to all claim to be the good guys. There's going to be people everywhere, like, crying in their hands that they should have known better before they made the dumbass decisions they made, which was to take down our country. I can't tell you, folks, how many bureaucrats, how many government employees I've spoken with, including law enforcement, that once they retired, they got a whole different perspective on the law and Constitution and our rights. And I knew them when they were bureaucrats or law enforcement, and they were assholes because they had that Karen power. They had a badge or a title and a government check. Once they lost that, they started feeling the pinch. There's a lot of people that are going to find out. It's coming, Robert. I know, man, you're older than I am. I know you've wanted to do something about it. You know, I'd like to get there before I'm half blind, 3/4 deaf, and as dumb as Joe Biden. But I don't think I'll ever forget that liberty and freedom is the most important, because you can't have peace and prosperity without liberty and freedom, period. Period. And I know this is one of my soapboxes I love to get up on and stand. But show me another nation that's been prosperous that didn't have freedom and liberty at its forefront. It can't be done. It can't be done. Because if there's not freedom, if there's not liberty, then that country, that nation, that empire is relying on the benevolence of its leadership. And benevolent leadership never lasts. It may be around for a short time. People could say, oh yeah, under the reign of whoever the hell it was that succeeded Chairman Mao, there was less despotism and less murder going on. Folks, less bad stuff, less tyrants, less murder is not good. It's not prosperous. It's certainly not free. And this is the world we have, folks. You are here right in the middle of it with me. And it's coming. And I got my Freedom Seed dispenser. It's all ready, all of it. I got my stack of Spam and Chunky Soup. I got 5 whole cans of Chunky Soup waiting to go. Right? But here we are. This is what we're dealing with. You can see and hear by the laws that are being passed and the voting that's being done what the American people think. And if you think for a hot second that the U.S. government and state governments and city mayors are going to back off, you've got another freaking thing coming. They will not, folks. They're going to push Cerveza Bug. They're going to push the Jim Jones juice mandates. It's coming back. Don't you worry. They're going to push fear and paranoia. We're going to have cyber attacks, in my opinion. We're going to have monetary problems like you can't imagine. That has already started. It's already started. I tried logging into my bank account today. It kicked me out. I was like, what's going on? Do we have a cyber attack? It's frustrating. It's like, I only keep enough in there to get a few bills taken care of. But I was like, is this it? And then it worked again. I thought, how can a bank of that size have a website that operates like it's run by a 3rd grader? Unbelievable. And speaking of bank accounts, folks, get this. Vladimir Putin, not Voldemort Zelensky, Vladimir Putin is going to collect a $320 billion windfall thanks to the sanctions. That's right. I mean, these sanctions are supposed to help us and help Voldemort Zelensky, weren't they? Right? Should we be surprised, folks, that in order to F up the US of A, right, that someone would benefit? Well, Putin, folks, gets hundreds of billions of dollars because Biden shut down our surpluses, our pipelines. Russia, right, has been the supplier for Europe, who have been shutting down their coal mines and their natural gas and their oil. Right? Half-assed sanctions by the United States and the European Union, folks, All it did was help drive up the cost of oil and natural gas. And the oil producers, including Russia, right? They get the surpluses, they get the bonus, they're selling their gas and oil and energy at a far higher price. While folks, we pay the bill for it. Whether we buy Russian oil and pay more for that, or we buy Iraqi oil or Sudanese oil or Nigerian oil or United Arab Emirates oil, all the prices are up because of this. We end up paying for it. We pay the bill, and they drag the war on Ukraine, or the war in Ukraine, on by giving Voldemort Zelensky enough equipment, folks, just enough to fight and stall any peace process. No peace papers signed, Voldemort. You will not give in to Russia, right? But the same political class, folks, let's think about it. Biden, General Milli Vanilli, go get your lipstick on, right? Defense Secretary Austin Lloyd, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. These are the same clowns, the same government that did such a great job, a bang-up job, well, on Afghanistan. The same administration and their allies and cronies, how did they handle the pandemic? Did they do a good job there? How about the southern border? How about the 2020 riots? Kamala, right? Bailing people out and encouraging them to continue committing heinous crime after heinous crime, including murder, arson, looting. So why should we trust them now? Really, why should we trust Biden and these people with our opinions about Ukraine and what is real and a fact and what is false and a lie? Why should we believe them about Ukraine anything when they can't tell us the truth about our own country and take care of our own border and our own cities and our own veterans, right? They wouldn't lie to us 100 times in a row, would they? Of course they would. Of course they will if given a chance. All right, let's do some more with you guys. Does anyone want to step up, or is my stuff so rocking hot that, nope, looks like you guys want to talk about your stuff. John C. checks in, and he says, open southern border and all ports. Collapse of the petrodollar. Banks will confiscate accounts, land, food, and energy. America is in its death throes. Well, that was a positive bit of news. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Just go ahead and leave that one up there, Jolene. I'm gonna have at it. Wide open southern border. Well, Title 42, there's a law there that Trump had that was supposed to keep the border closed, and it's still in existence, but Joe is getting rid of it so they can open the border wide open, wider than Stormy Daniels' legs, wide open. Now, Mitch McConnell, who I don't like at all, Turtle Mitch, Cocaine Mitch is another nickname of his. Wonder if Madison Cawthorn is onto something there. So Mitch McConnell, senator, says, nope. We're not going to sign on to your next piece of legislation, Biden, unless you keep that Title 42 thing about the border in place. Now, here's the deal. He's not doing me or you or anyone a real favor because he's Mitch McConnell. I'm sure he's in it for himself because he's Mitch McConnell. Additionally, folks, with Title 42 in place, Joe Biden and his administration, and which is law enforcement, he's the executive branch, law enforcement branch of the government, they've managed to allow in 250,000 people per month. That's 3 million illegals average a year, if you want to look at that. Over 4 years is 12 million illegal immigrants coming into this country, breaking the law. I love that. Not the breaking the law, but the song. Anyways, because that's what they do, folks. I could sing that all day and just point at Joe Biden, breaking the law. Okay, got stuck on that one. So whether or not there's a Title 42, they're bringing people in massively. I guess I'd rather have 12 million in than 24 million come in. I guess that's that whole lesser of two evils option. And so Mitch McConnell wants us to be happy with the lesser of two evils. Well, how about the ports? How about if we get people who actually work at the ports instead of these unions, which just want to sit on their hands and pretend like they don't know how to unload ships while the rest of the country is short supplies, goods that are needed, right? They started a system where we rely on China and Sri Lanka and Indonesia and Taiwan and India and other manufacturing countries, also like, Japan and South Korea. Over on the other side, the East Coast, they got everything coming out of Europe and Africa and South America that comes up, but they don't want to unload those ships. Yeah. We got problems, folks. The petrodollar is collapsing. Russia, Nigeria, United Arab Emirates, I think Saudi Arabia also, they're all making deals with Russia and with China. They're starting their own little private oil cartel and gang. And guess who's not invited in that club? The US and Europe. They're sitting on the outside begging for more oil while they don't get it. Incredible, folks. They're paying for their oil, not with US dollars, the petrodollar, but they're paying for it with whatever they feel like. They don't need the United States, and they don't need to use a weaponized currency. The dollar's going down, folks. Now, we do have this thing called bail-ins. You've heard of bailouts where the government gives money to banks. Well, if the government says, we ain't giving you any money, the banks can do a bail-in. You see, your deposits that go into a bank, that's no longer considered a deposit. You have no right to that money. That is now considered an unsecured loan from you to the bank. It's an unsecured loan. And that unsecured loan, folks, right, they can take it. They can take that. The government, in an emergency, they can claim under executive order to take all resources, all energy resources, all food resources, hey, even the human resources, you and me, because, we're just cattle to these frickin' people, right? America, I don't think we're in our death throes yet, John. But I think that we've suffered a heart attack or two. I think there's a stroke and the mind and spirit is weakened. So it comes down to you and me, us, whether we as patriots and lovers of freedom and liberty are awake, and if we're actually still out there pushing, prodding, and asking people to, one, get prepared, and two, prep to action. Wake up, get prepared, and start taking action. Right? We had another one of those forms you sign. This one was for Congress people being allowed to invest in Wall Street on insider information and enrich themselves, passing legislation that they know will benefit themselves. We need that shit stopped, folks. And that is a way to prep to action. Calling, writing, texting, emailing, smoke signals, carrier pigeon, whatever it takes, sending messages to your local, your state, and your federal legislators so they know what you think. It may not change their mind, and especially if they're a rhino or a Democrat. But I get information back from these political people now, sending me back information saying, well, we got what you had to say, John, and we support you. Or, hey, John, thanks a lot. We don't give a shit what you think. I've gotten a little bit of everything in my life. Remember, folks, I once had Dianne Feinstein as my senator, and I would actually get unsolicited information from her office because I had sent information to her office telling her what I think. At one point, Dianne Feinstein's office told me that I need to get prepared for an emergency. This was back in the 20 teens. It may have been back before I even started the show. I was like, Feinstein's office is telling me I need to be prepared? What the hell is coming? It was a fair question, don't you think? Are you prepared? Folks, we got a lot going on. I'm going to be back tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of video, a lot of discussion, a lot of comments. I want to thank you for standing up, for sounding off, and for standing firm. Right? There's no more room to back up. The cliff is behind us. And we got a bunch of lemmings running at us. telling us to put on your mask and support Ukraine. And there's limits to the First Amendment, and the Second Amendment is archaic, and the Constitution is a bunch of white European trash. Well, if you like freedom and liberty, folks, making your own decisions for yourself, you need to turn away from the cliff, face the lemmings, and let them run around you. Realize we got some really big dogs that are chasing them down, right? Trying to herd us all off the cliff. So get prepared. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Semper Fi, Godspeed.